35 Filipino workers have been repatriated from war-torn Afghanistan on Tuesday. The Education Department gets the lion's share of the proposed 5 trillion peso national budget for 2022. An official from the Commission on Audit maintains that it followed due process when it flagged the deficiencies in the Health Department's handling of pandemic funds. A House panel has approved a bill seeking to legalize absolute divorce in the Philippines. And in sports, 6 Filipino Paralympians are rolling up their sleeves for the Tokyo Games, which will start on August 24. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. Local government units in Metro Manila are seeing more and more incidents of household COVID-19 transmissions within their jurisdictions. Let's discuss that and more with infectious diseases expert Dr. Ronjin Solante. Good evening, Doc Solante. Thanks for joining us again this evening. What exactly is happening on the ground? We've all been at home. We're hearing news from on the ground. Is it really true that household transmission is once again very rampant these days?
Yeah, correct, Sean. No? In fact, with this surge of cases, a lot of our patients having contacts with their relatives, the same household, 2 or 3 of them are being hospitalized, parents, children, or yung mga kamag-anak na in the same household are being hospitalized. No? So this is something that it's not surprising to us, because when we have a virus that's very highly transmissible, then if you are staying in a household and you are carrying that virus, whether you are asymptomatic or or you have the symptoms, then your risk of transmitting that to any of those household people inside is still really high.
Right, especially now that we're talking about the Delta COVID variant, and we're always assuming that we have the Delta variant, even if it's not. Having said that, Doc, we know that it is more transmissible by as much as 60%. Do family members need to revisit this practice of masking up inside the house?
They should, no, they should. Just like what we recommended in any situation where you are in the house with elderly population, elderly people, or even younger children, no? Because of the highly transmissible virus, you can transmit them anytime. So if anyone has having symptoms, isolate, call the barangay, and you have to be put in a treatment facility. And for those who are coming in and out of the house because they're working, they have to be careful, less interaction with people inside, and you have to wear face masks all times, even in your own house.
Right. So COVID-19 cases that were logged by the DOH today, Doc, were relatively low at 10,000 cases compared to the last few days when we were logging some 14,000 or 14,500 and up. Whether or not we can attribute this to the ongoing ECQ implementation, of course, remains to be seen, Doc. But maybe you can share with us like your experiences on the ground. How are your hospitals doing right now? Is it true that they're filling up and we are running out of bed space?
Yes, that's true. In the hospitals that I've been affiliated, both the government and the private hospitals, patients are queuing up not only in the emergency room, but also in the ambulance, waiting for vacancy in the emergency room. So that's how bad the cases are now. And then if they're waiting for beds in the regular COVID room, they are waiting several number of days, because most of the patients that we're admitting now are the severe and critical, no? And that's why we're seeing patients dying in the ER, dying in the ambulance while waiting for beds. And that's so sad to really observe at this point in time.
Right, but we've also, Doc, been under the pandemic for about 1.5 years now, and we have experienced a surge, although probably a little bit lower than this current one. Have we improved on our response in terms of stocking up on ventilators and whatever machines that we need to keep people alive? Can you say that we have been able to do this successfully?
Yeah, I think most hospitals have been preparing for this, especially the mechanical ventilators, the beds that especially for the government hospitals, we have expanded our capacity. But the current problem now is really the cases are very high, and some of the hospitals are running out of some of these medications, like the methylprednisolone, the dexamethasone, and even the tocilizumab are really out of stock. So these are something that we didn't expect that it will happen like this, and it's just so sad.
That's right. Those drugs are always out of stock. So hoping that will be resolved. But Doc, can you also tell us, I know probably a lot of people are wondering whether those cases that are severe, that are in your emergency rooms and in your ICUs are all vaccinated cases. Can you tell us about the quality of the patients? Are they half vaccinated, fully vaccinated, unvaccinated?
Okay, so first, the age group. So we have both the younger population and elderly population. So meaning the younger population are still vulnerable, and it doesn't mean that they are younger, they're more protected. Second, the more severe form are still in the group of those unvaccinated. So that's one thing that we have to emphasize. The importance of vaccination, especially for those who are highly vulnerable, those 60 years old and above, and those with comorbidities. The common observation in most hospitals, these are the people at higher risk of getting this severe and dying because of COVID-19. So these are still the population that we need to protect, and I hope everyone who hears this report, they should go, and once the LG calls them, get vaccinated, the vulnerable population.
Right, good to know vaccination still works in terms of preventing severe hospitalization and even death. But Doc, as early as now, of course, we're still under ECQ until this weekend. And as a medical professional, can you already recommend a new quarantine classification, at least for the NCR, starting August 20, or when this 2-week ECQ period is scheduled to end? Or in your medical opinion, and of course in your opinion as an infectious diseases doctor, should we extend the ECQ period?
So the way I look at cases right now, still high, and I don't until such time you see the downtrend of these cases. I still go for the ECQ, but again, stricter implementation of the provisions of the ECQ is also very important. And again, implying all the public to really comply with the ECQ provisions.
All right. Thank you so much for your time as usual and all your advice. Dr. Ron Jean Solante, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Sean, and stay safe.
And in other news, the government is asking for the highest ever national budget for 2022, amounting to more than 5 trillion pesos. Palace spokesman Harry Roque said that the proposed budget is 11.5% more than last year's war chest. The Education Department is slated to get the lion's share of the proposed budget with an allocation of over 773 billion pesos. The second biggest allocation is the Public Works Department at more than 680 billion. The DILG, the DOH, and the Defense Department are each asking for at least 220 billion pesos in funds for next year. Malacanang says the proposed spending bill will be sent to Congress on Monday for a series of deliberations. And the Commission on Audit maintains that it followed due process when it flagged the Health Department's deficiencies in handling billions of pesos worth of pandemic funds. This comes after Health Secretary Francisco Duque III accused the COA of being unfair and unjust. In today's House hearing, COA Chairman Mike Aguinaldo said that the DOH was in fact given enough time to explain its pandemic spending, but it missed the deadline. Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega said 5 of the 13 deficiencies that were flagged by the COA were already resolved, while the rest are currently being addressed. For his part, Secretary Duque turned emotional as he insisted that no pandemic funds went into corruption. The health chief is now asking COA for more time to complete these requirements.
Winaharap na ninyo kami. Winaharap na ninyo ang tagal ng DOH. Winaharap ninyo ang lahat ng mga kasama ko dito. Hindi kami makaharap sa mga tao dahil lahat ang dami-daming sinasabi, ang dami-daming paratang. And it is very clear. 60 days. Pero naglabas na eh. Para bagang ninakawan, winaldas, ninakaw lahat. Ganun eh. We recognize that COA is doing its job. Pero bigyan naman kami ng pagkataon. Yun ang nga nasabi, walang notice of disallowance. Walang notice of charge. Wala. Kasi nga napapanahon based on due process, dictates of due process. Kailangan bigyan kami ng panahon na sagutin.
And the repatriation program for Filipino workers in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan continues. However, some OFWs choose not to go home just yet and be transferred to other countries instead to keep their jobs. Dale De Vera with their stories.
At least 35 Filipinos from war-torn Afghanistan arrived in the Philippines on Tuesday. They were evacuated by their companies to Doha, Qatar, and then boarded a chartered plane to Manila. Less than 100 Filipino workers, however, remain in the Central Asian country. Among those is Rio Fabe, who has been working in the capital city of Kabul for a decade already. Fabe and 7 other Filipinos evacuated to a NATO military camp near the airport. 2 days after the Taliban forces took over, Fabe said the tension had somehow gone down.
Since last night, normal na. May mga warning shots kasi maraming mga police sa perimeter eh. Umagat sa bakod ng mga civilians para makasakit yung plano. Normal na ngayon, wala na. Pero kahit alert pa rin.
Fabe said fellow Filipinos who have already been repatriated left their food for them. He hopes that other OFWs will be able to go inside the NATO camp for their safety.
Kami sa loob ng base, safe kami, feel safe kami. Yun na nga, kanina umaga issue yung pagkain. Pero okay na. Comfortable ang aming tinitirahan, hard building, air condition, may mga water, lahat may provision dito.
Okay.
Makabalik sila, makapak sila na dito.
Fabe and his co-workers, however, chose not to be sent home to the Philippines to keep their jobs. They will be transferred to another country where they will finish their contracts. He appealed to the public to reserve their judgments on people who have chosen to work in Afghanistan.
Sabi nga, maraming trabaho sa ibang lugar. Bakit kayo pupunta dito? Kasi hindi nga sila nasa ground. Hindi naman ganun ka-delikado rito noon na hindi pa lumulog yung
The Philippine Foreign Affairs Department has raised alert level 4 in Afghanistan due to security risks. For News 5, Dale De Vera, we're One News.
Time to take a quick look at today's other top stories. The House Committee on Population and Family Relations has approved a bill seeking to legalize absolute divorce in the Philippines. Aside from the Vatican City, the Philippines is the only country that has yet to allow divorce. 6 Filipino athletes are all set for the Tokyo Paralympics to be held starting August 24. The delegates said they are motivated to bring home medals after the recent historic wins of Filipino athletes in the Summer Olympics. And in New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has placed the entire country under a 3-day lockdown after one COVID-19 case was detected in Auckland. New Zealand last reported a community case of COVID-19 back in February. For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.